Welcome to NashTalk. How you guys doing? Live from Tennessee. My name is Chris Anthony. I would love to welcome you. We're broadcasting live from Facebook, NashTalk, and it's a public forum, so anybody can join. You can share it, join along at any time. And we're also on YouTube/Slice of Nashville. And I'm really excited because I'm down here in Music Land. They call it the Music Capital, Music Row. It has many titles, and there's a lot of people down here making it and breaking it in the industry. Well, we have a gentleman tonight, and I'm so really honored and humbled that he is on here with me. In fact, he's in the green room right now, and he can see me and hear me. So without further ado, I won't get into a long intro. I want to bring him on from the band Accept, world-renowned bassist Martin Motnik. So here he is. There he is.
Hey, Chris, how you doing,
my brother?
I'm very good.
All right. Well, let's see. First off, thank you. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it's Friday night, I guess, everywhere except people on the different side of the planet. So it's Friday night somewhere, right? And let me turn this up a little bit. And I'm just really, really riveted because I know that you have been playing all over. You just got off tour not too long ago, right? And I know we've got so much to talk about. Where you came from, how you got to Nashville, how you came to the United States, even before that. You have so much history. It's amazing. I mean, most of the people that I talk to down here don't have the different elements like you do. Wikipedia, it was like a book. You know what I mean?
Okay. Thank you. I'm just trying to do my thing.
Yeah, no, you're awesome. Well, I'll start off with this, and of course, we're going to be able to take comments and questions throughout the course of the night if anybody pops on. But I know that you originally started playing flute like at 6 years old in Germany, right?
Yeah, involuntarily. It was kind of part of music education in elementary school, so I had to. But I did, yeah. That's basically my first concert was as a recorder player, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Well, we're okay. So I had a hard time pronouncing it, and as being a former DJ, I know that enunciation is everything. But German is kind of its own. It has its own inflections and things like that. So
it's such a beautiful sounding language.
It really is. It really is. And you have such a great accent for the way you speak English. You speak very well. And I'm really, sometimes I'm listening to people and I'm trying to make out what they say. And you are very pleasant to, talk to because you're so rich with detail in a lot of things. And when I was, going back, now we met, let me just start with that. We met back in May of this year when I came to Nashville. And I was probably here like
it was right around time, yeah.
Wasn't it May?
I think so. Everything like becomes a blur, dates and months but it was earlier this year, a few months ago at Danny's house.
Danny's house, right? Danny Nova, the Danny Nova compound. He's probably going to be watching tonight, by the way. He's only a few minutes from downtown Nashville. I'm a little further. I'm about 20 miles north of downtown Nashville, the epicenter. And I think you're in about 20 miles southeast or west, or
I'm east. East. It's a city called Mount Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some great neighbors. Michael Wagner, famous producer, rock and roll producer. He lives like 5 minutes from me. Who else? I'm just trying to remember. There's a couple of people that live here because it's a little outside of town. But Troy Lucetta from Tesla, he's really close.
Wow.
So you can get into town really quick, but it's far enough outside that it's quiet and you're a little away from the hustle and bustle of downtown because Nashville is growing like crazy. Everybody's moving here, and prices are going through the roof, and traffic's getting nuts. So now it's starting to get like, okay, start to stay away a little bit. But I'm really close to the airport, so that's very convenient.
Oh, BNA? BNA is that's the acronym for the Nashville Airport.
Right.
It's funny because I've had to go all over the place. You're like 10, 20, 30 miles in every direction on the compass from
Right.
downtown Nashville, and everybody has to go to. If they don't drive here, it's the airport. And they only have one airport, and that's the one.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm getting used to it coming from so many different sides, picking up. I feel like an Uber driver sometimes
Yeah,
because
right.
nobody that I know is really from here. Nobody's from here.
It's rare
And
when
that's
you run into somebody, but it's really interesting. And the first thing that you always hear is like, "Oh my God, it's changed so much." When you speak to a native. So it's really interesting.
yeah, they have they call them Nashvillians, and all the way from Antioch and all these different places, and
Hmm.
they always say uh what they some people love the new Nashville, and then the natives, the locals, or whatever you want to call them, they go, we miss the old Nashville,
I
because
understand.
it's mostly rock and roll and country bars that were predominantly layered throughout the landscape of Nashville. And you can go all over. And another thing, would you agree with this? That everywhere you go 5, 10, 20 miles or so is considered Nashville. I've been to so many little bars and pubs, and they consider themselves, even Franklin, they'll consider it Nashville. They don't label it. It's like, I guess
Yeah.
that's what they do in big metropolis cities.
I think so too. But I think if you're there, then they're really proud of. I don't think that somebody in Franklin would really be proud to say, "I'm national. We're Franklin." So, but
Right.
but I think to outsiders, everybody who doesn't live here, yes, I would say the same thing. Now, I'm in Mount Juliet, and that's even its own. It's a different county already, and I'm
Right.
not even part of Davidson County anymore. But it's like if I talk to somebody, so where do you live? I live in Nashville. It's like it's close enough.
It's funny that you say it, because they put their counties on the license plate. Do you notice
They do,
that?
yeah.
And like up here, it's Robertson County,
Okay.
and all that. But what was I going to say? Yeah, it's like I've been to like Kinross and all these places. And now, you being a performer, and I'm going to get into this a lot too. You just got off a tour, probably exhausting. Where were you? Brazil, and where else were you?
We
Just
were, yeah,
recently.
with the year started with an extensive European tour. So I was over there for 2 months, basically all over Europe, from Scandinavia, Finland, Norway, Sweden, all the way down to Spain,
Hmm.
France, Germany, of course, lots of them. And then we came back, and then we had a Latin America run. We did a
Mm.
bunch of shows and festivals there, some really cool festivals with Testament, Creator, and Stradivarius. So it was really cool because partially we were like on the same plane. So we were kind of like joking, like this plane is so full of metal, it's never gonna pick up, never gonna take off. And
um,
so that was good. And then we just had like a few shows in Europe. But this year has actually more been rather slow, the summer, because we were focusing on a new album,
mhm.
and we just finished recording that. So that was kind of like the focus this year. It's like, let's do that, and then so that next year we can promote a new album.
Wow. You've been so busy. I told you the other day, we had kind of a talk before, because like I said, we met before, and we haven't seen each other. And I saw you one other time when you guys went on a
Right.
bike ride.
Yeah.
You, Danny, and Frank. And I remember, I just when I was watching this other interview, just by perchance, earlier today. It wasn't a very long one, but I remember they were these two rock and roll guys, and they were saying, to go, they were talking about Martin, and they said, you, and they said, he's such a really nice, sweet man. He goes, yes, he is. I'm these two rock, and I'm going, I don't know if I would have put it that way, but I'm glad, because those were the words that were in my head. He's just,
Oh
every
man.
time even the very first time I met you, I mean, and this is for the people out there that are watching, if you don't know him, I mean, there's a lot of people that I've met back in Detroit and all over the place, and especially down here, and you find most people are pretty friendly, but
Yeah,
there's
that's
some
what I
people that are
experienced.
just, yeah, and then but there's some of those people that have that ego, and they're kind of standoffish. Say, I play here and I play there, and here, like, they play places that you come back to that you probably don't necessarily have to play. If I'm saying this okay, and but yet you play them because of your work ethic and your passion for
Hmm.
playing music in the bass. Because you're not just a bass player, you're a songwriter. I've seen you, I know you sing, even though you did a big instrumental album with 10 songs, the Dream Chaser, right?
Hmm.
And I want to get into that one too, because that was like rock and roll heaven. because you can drop names, and I know that a lot of people don't always know the names of certain artists, and then you go, no, he's from the Scorpions, or he's from the David Lee Roth band, or this or that or whatever. And you find that a lot of musicians have played with other artists and other bands before, during, and after their tenure with a particular band. They do solo projects, collabs, things like that. And you're that guy. You're that guy. As you can see, you're right in your own studio right now. And I want you to talk about some of the progressions, because I know that you work with Uli John Roth, Scorpions, right? And that was one of your big influences. And then, like I said, you just got back home, and we were going to do the interview a couple of days ago, but he was, I know you were a little bit under the weather, but yet he still goes out and plays. Where were you at? Kid Rocks the other day, or was it?
Yeah, I have this residency when I'm here in Nashville. So a few months ago, Tyson Leslie, fantastic multi-instrumentalist, keyboarder for the band Vixen, and he's one of the big movers and shakers here in Nashville. I saw him perform at Kid Rock's bar downtown, and he asked me to sit in and jam along. So I jumped on stage, played a few songs, and then I was like, well, that was fun. And then the next day or so, he gives me a call and said, hey, would you be interested in joining us? I was like, actually, yeah, I would love to do that. And it's basically, so it's every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So it's one of those slow days anyway. You don't have really much going on. And it's a great band. Tyson is just a monster musician, and he has such a huge catalog on songs, and he just pulls them out and just plays them. I stand kind of like sideways behind him, so when he really wants to surprise people with something that he hasn't played in a long time, with something really off the wall, then he pulls out a chart on his iPad, and so I can kind of see what he's gonna do. So I'm a little bit prepared, but you still have to know the song. And so he's the funniest guy. He just pulls out a song, and you just hold on for dear life and stuff. So it keeps you sharp, and it keeps you on your feet. And sometimes he plays songs I've never heard before. And then you at least see the chords, and then you listen, and you try to lock in with the drums, and just try to make it sound like a song on the fly, which is something you would do when you would be in a studio. You get a chart, and then you get the song, and then you just try to make it sound as good as possible first take. And so it's a fantastic exercise, and it's just great people, and I just love the interaction with the crowd. It's always a good time, and so I'm really happy about doing that during kind of like the off time that we're having right now, while Accept is not on the road.
Wow. Yeah. I was like, it's funny because I saw you play at the, at Danny's place, Danny Noah we're referring to. And he had, there was Egon Savino. He plays with different bands across Nashville.
Is he with 8 Ball now? Is he not playing with, right? Yep. Great guy, great drummer, great band.
Oh, he's funny as heck too.
Yeah, he's real super funny. Not a motorcycle rider, so we're trying to get the group together, just gang of musician riders.
Well, the funny thing was that, and then you had Devin Pangle. That was Devin. He played with John Fogerty, and he seemed pretty young. And I know there was Nate Peck, who now works with Great White. Yeah, he's a young kid from actually my part of town, north of Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And,
I didn't even know that. That's right.
Yeah, and he, we were together. In fact, he sent me a message yesterday because he's touring with Firehouse right now. And
sweet.
So these iconoclast kind of bands, just like how you are. And his voice is just out of this world. But getting back to you, who else was there? There was a bunch of people. Richie Honori from
Richie Honori from Sweet, yeah. And that's actually how I got into that circle, because Richie and I toured with Uli John Roth
we talked
a few years ago, and so he was the drummer, and that's how we became friends. And so Richie's reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm in town, and let's come by. And that's how that all started. So it's actually Richie's fault. Hey, Richie.
It's funny. I still stay in touch with pretty much all the guys, or when I see them. Like I said last time, I saw Egon. He was on the street. I've seen Frank. I've seen all these guys. But it was when I was watching. I was actually remember I was videotaping, and I'm like, who is I didn't know you at the time, and you were playing
What?
that bass, and it was just like, and you were so friendly instantly with me, and we took a few, because I was doing selfies and videotaping and everything, and then I realized who you were, and then I saw your CD, Dream Chasers, and I'm going out of sequence here chronologically with our conversation, but I have to say because I think you did. When did you do that album? Not too long ago, right?
I call it my COVID project. So I basically started like mid 20. We did the Accept album, To Mean to Die, and we had already started and we finished working on it like mid 2020. And then all the like concert. I mean, I make a lot of my income by playing live, and so everything had shut down. All the concerts were canceled, and so I was kind of like at home and trying to find some activity and to not like climb up the walls. And
But you
that's when I
had.
had the
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. No,
So
keep going.
yeah, no, and then so that's when I started like digging out some ideas that I had already sketched down over the years. And I was like, "Hey, I should make," because I have a first solo album I did like in 2005, so it was
Bass
like
Invader.
overdue. Bass Invader, right? Yeah. And so I was kind of like overdue for another album, and that was like the perfect time. So, okay, it's COVID, I'm home, got nothing else to do, and that's gonna keep me busy and sane.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's how I got into that.
Yeah. Well, I knew, of you, but I didn't like when I'm gonna go back. I didn't know you directly until that day
Right.
where I saw you,
Mhm.
and I didn't know how you were gonna be. Go, he's from Accept. I'm like, oh, and I don't get starstruck so much because I've been around a few people and in my life in
And there's
in
a
in the
reason.
business.
I mean, we're all just people. I mean,
Yeah, but
what?
it's like, well, you're not just a rock and roller and a heavy metal bass player besides song and producer. I mean, you do have a background coming from. I mean, you have an MBA. You have a man. What's your background? Just let them know because
Oh yeah,
you're
so
very
I got a business degree. I got a master's in business from in Germany, where education is free. So at least I don't have a bunch of debt. But it took me a while to
yeah.
really take the plunge into being a full-time musician. It was also kind of my parents were always about me having a solid education,
Mhm.
and so I took that, and so I'm not a quitter. So I signed up for college, and then I was like, okay, now I'm in it. Now I might as well finish it, and so I did that, and but yeah, so I was always making music, even though when I was like doing the corporate walk, so to speak.
So that was kind of not necessarily your backup in getting your education.
You can call it that, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, fair
Why
enough.
not?
But this is your passion. I mean, you left Germany to come to the United States, and
Right.
Nashville wasn't necessarily your first stop. I mean, you were also in LA too for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I had checked out Nashville. Was the first time I was here was actually in 2004 to give it a try and or just check it out. And
Mhm.
it was just so different. At that time, it was really like hardcore country, old school country. And I walked into the bars. I mean, there were already a lot of bars on Broadway where there was live music all the time. Now it's probably more, but
Mhm.
many of them were already there back then. And I remember I walked in there and I was just so blown away by the musicianship. I mean, it was a Tuesday afternoon and just every bar had live music and every musician was just such a monster. And but it was like country, so it was like they had the washboard and the fiddle and the
Right.
spoons and what they played was just so outside my wheelhouse. I was like, I don't even speak the language. Like, there's
Right.
no way I could hang. And so that's when I was like, if I would ever go anywhere, it would be LA because that's the music I grew up with. That's the music I liked, um,
Sure.
loved listening to, and still do. I'm very
Mhm.
much into virtuoso guitar players like Steve Vai, Paul Gilbert, Joe Satriani, and Billy Sheehan is my big bass influence. He was out there. He's in Nashville now, so it's so funny that like the rockers are all coming to Nashville now, which is
Right.
great. But
Yeah.
that's why I decided. just give it a try in LA and see if I could kind of like hang. And I was really lucky. I met some good people, and that helped me a lot to get established.
Now, when you were in LA, what were the connections that elevated you before you returned back to Nashville?
So in LA, I didn't know many people, but as I just mentioned, I had this my first solo album, Bass Invader, and for that I did that when I was still living in Munich, Germany. But I've found just browsing on the internet, found out that Greg Bissonette, the drummer for David Lee Roth, and then now he's in Ringo Starr, but he does tons of studio stuff. He's the voice for Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, really?
No joke. That's actually a true story.
Google
Greg Bissonette, Winnie the Pooh. He
Wow.
tells some funny stories how he got that job. So I messaged Greg and I was like, hey, I'm coming to LA, I'm giving it a try. I'm going to come for 3 months, see how it's going to work out. And do you have any suggestions? And he said, go to jam sessions, go to meet people. He actually got me in touch with a few people that actually then ended up letting me sit in and meet a bunch of people. And then I just try to find out, okay, where do people like musicians meet and gather? And I've always known about the Baked Potato, which is this very famous, really tiny jazz club, so to speak, in I think Studio City or Universal City. It's in a valley in LA. And every Monday they have a jam session, and that's where I went to. And just first I watched it a few times, and then I started kind of like every week I got a little bit more brave, and then I signed up to play along. And then when you go there a few times, then the people start to remember you, recognize you, and then that's how you make contact, and that's how you meet people. And so that helped me a lot to get like just go out and network, basically. And then,
go ahead,
yes.
keep going. No. You had more to say. I wasn't sure, but go ahead, keep going. I like this.
No. So it's just so I wanted to do it the right way to come into the United States, and I never wanted to overstay my visa. And so I came the first couple of times. I came as a tourist, so I was not allowed to work. That's why I only went to jams and just sat in, that kind of stuff. And then the second time, when the second 3-month period basically was about to expire, I was like, okay, I'm the third time they're gonna start getting suspicious. Probably, what, did you coming back again? And then like a week before I was supposed to leave, a friend of mine, a bass player from Germany, contacted me and said, hey, Uli, John Roth is looking for a bass player for his American tour, and I know you over there, and so I recommended you. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, but I don't think I can do it because I don't have a visa. I'm not allowed to officially work. And he goes, okay, I'll tell him. He'll be in touch. And so like a day later, so Uli calls me and we start talking. And I actually tried to turn him down. I was like, look, there are other people that I could recommend. I gave him some names, and he's like, yeah, I know all those people, but that's okay. I want you. You would fit into the team. I'm like, okay, well then make it happen. And so they really jumped through the process. I don't know how much it must have cost, but since I was basically technically still a German resident, you have to go through the musicians union in the United States. They have to approve that somebody from another country can play in the United States, because there's nobody who could do the job who's a United States citizen. So they have, and it's just a way to make money, but
yeah, that's right. Like sad.
And then lawyers get involved, and so they have to find it, and then they have to petition the immigration office that you can go and go to the embassy, and then you get an interview, and then it's because it was like a week before rehearsal start. It was like super fast, and they had to get an express visa, and I don't know how many thousands of dollars that must have cost, but they made it happen. and so that's how I got my first visa, that I was actually officially able to work as a musician in the United States.
Wow.
So Uli John Roth was very, very instrumental in my path of becoming a resident in the United States, being able to officially work. So I'll always be thankful for him. And I did 2 more tours with him afterwards. So it was
Now, was that with the
so
Scorpions,
grateful.
or was that with
No,
the Scorpions?
he was actually not, he was in the Scorpions from 1973 to 1977.
Right. That's why I just wanted the audience to be clear on that.
Right. So he was on 4 studio albums, and then there's this really legendary Scorpions album, Tokyo Tapes, and
Okay.
he's on that. And we played a lot of that material, and but shortly after, basically before Scorpions became this mega success, the superstar mainstream rock band, he decided to go his own way, because he's like, I don't want to be too commercial. I want to do my own thing,
Sure.
and follow my own path. And yeah, he's a huge influence on many guitar players. Funny enough, then Wolf Hoffman, my boss in Accept, who's a legend himself, but he says Uli John Roth is one of his Uli John Roth and Richie Blackmore are his 2 biggest influences. And
Mm-hmm.
so that actually helped me quite a bit when I applied for the job with
Mm-hmm.
Accept, that when he saw I played with Uli 3 times, 3 tours, I was like, oh, maybe I should check this guy out.
Right. Right.
So that
Yeah.
helped.
I'm really, yeah, I'm blown away, because I was like, just even like, and I mentioned the Dream Chaser, um, because I know that that's an important title to you. And this is a project you did a few years back, but with Joe Satriani and a whole host of other really well-known artists with their own discography of music in the music world.
Total legends,
And
yeah.
yeah, total legends. And like Accept has been around since the 70s. I don't know if some people know that. And they've been uh, all over the world, or they're still selling out tours. That's the band you're with. But it's like, and I know they had a lot of influence over a lot of bands, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. I mean, I hear so many things about that. And then I see you're in because I just want, whoever doesn't know really what the genre is, it's more of a heavy metal band.
No,
And and there's so many familiar tones and riffs in there that you're going to listen and go, oh my God, it sounds like this band or this band or this band. And yet they're still
some people
around.
sometimes call it like the German AC/DC a little
100%.
bit, but then there's also, they also call it the inventor of speed metal. With Fast as
Speed
a
metal,
Shark
right?
was basically the first like fast tempo double bass song that
Mhm.
that just made back then, and then kind of like, I was like, okay, that was fun, let's do that. But they basically defined a genre. So they were
Sure.
really, really influential for so many, and I've known them since the early '80s. I mean, it's for me, it's a household name. They were the other rock band from Germany. They were the Scorpions, and then there was Accept.
Yeah, we were even kind of me and Nate Peck, when we were there. We were kind of like, I mean, we knew that Richie was there, but when we saw you, and they said, and I go, really? Like I the same Accept, it was kind of that,
Ah,
again, a little starstruck there. And then, but I also know that outside of even though it's a heavy metal rock and roll band, you also, like you said a little bit earlier, you tapped on it, that you also play a variety of styles. Because you told me the other day, because I almost went down to see you, and
okay,
I
you
had
should.
I'm going to next time. In fact, we already talked that we're gonna hang.
Then
Except
bring
I don't
it.
have a moment. Huh?
Hey, very good. Let's hang.
Yeah. And but I was I know that, like you said, because but I'm not playing metal or rock tonight. You're gonna play whatever else, whatever you're playing, covers or
Yeah, like
whatever.
radio, '80s, '90s, pop rock.
Sure,
That's like what
sure. But
people
like
want to
you
hear.
were assuring me it
No
wasn't just
country.
that. No country. No, okay. No, let me just speak on that. So you say no country. Is it like you don't play country because they don't play it, or you don't? It's not your genre, or whatever. It's supposed to be in Nashville.
That band just doesn't play it. That band
Okay,
is just more. And Kid Rock's band, Kid Rock's bar, Kid Rock,
right.
hence the name,
Sure.
is more. the bar is more geared towards like the rock crowd. But I do play country. I'm actually I can, if I listen to country, I like the female singers more. I'm kind of
Sure.
not a big fan of the twangy male singer sound. It's just not so much my thing. But I'm just always, because I am a studio musician, and I played on country songs, and but just when you listen to these productions that come out of Nashville, the quality is just so, it blows my mind every time. It's just, it sounds big, it sounds rich, it sounds transparent. It's just, even the cheesiest country songs have such a tremendous production quality behind it that I listen to it just for that fact. And I would love to actually get into the scene of those musicians to play on those records, on the whatever Carrie Underwood and Luke Bryan or Jason Aldean, because the record quality is just, was just tremendous.
Yeah, I know that you, just like I said, you've been writing and creating and producing for different things. Now, how would you describe your personal projects when you do these collaborations on each one of these songs? I know that you've even had Michael Jackson's female guitarist
Yeah,
and Jennifer,
nuts. Jennifer
yeah,
Batten. Hmm.
Jennifer Batten. And I've seen her in a lot of the videos and stuff. She was for the last 3 years of his tour, his world tour, or
Right.
something like that, right? And I mean that you got some really heavyweights that performed on your album. How would you
I
describe
know.
that
I know.
particular genre or that particular project?
Well, it was the first album that I did, Bass Invader. I did that uh, with the clear focus of, I wanted to swing my thing around. I wanted to show what I'm capable of doing on a bass, and kind of like get attention for that. And I call it my audible business card. And I wanted to show people, okay, this is what I'm able to do, and get more jobs as a bass player and studio musician. And unfortunately, it backfired big time, because everybody who listened to it were like, "We're not gonna hire this guy. He's gonna overplay everything. We need a bass player who plays like simple eighth notes, all in the first five frets." So, because when you play high, when it, like, it's like, when you play high and play that's the high register, but this down here, this is the cash register. This is where a bass player makes his money. And so all what people need is like, that's what you want from a bass player. And if somebody, if you start to listen to an album and it goes, they're like, we don't want that, thank you. And so it kind of backfired in that sense, that it didn't really get me more work as a studio musician, but it did give me notoriety as a solo artist, even if it's just for the novelty effect. And it did help me actually. It did help me get the relationship with Greg Bissonette, which helped me get connections in Los Angeles. It did help me get the Uli John Roth gig, because the bass player who recommended me had just written a review about it, and so he knew about me, and he admired that, and he knew that I was able to. He knows bass players know that other bass players know how to play according to a song, or serving a song, and so he knew I was going to be able to do that. Um, but now Dream Chaser, I try to approach that a little bit differently. I try to not show everything, like lay the whole 9 inches on the table, um, but just kind of like stay melodic. I wanted to make an album that people could listen to even if they don't play an instrument, if they're not like musician fans or whatever, something they could just play in the background, or that could even be in a movie or a commercial, or something that's like just playing to make you feel good. And only when you start like digging into, so what, that sounds interesting, what is that? It's like, this guy who played everything you listen to, what you can hear on bass instruments. That's
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, because I've watched you like assimilate, and I guess I mean, I was told when I got to Nashville that some of the best musicians they can just walk up and hear the chord structure,
hmm
the progressions, whatever, and then just start rolling with it. And they may not hit every note or get the timing instantly right. Um, I've heard even people that they say they can't play without click tracks or something like that, whatever. But you just seem to have a natural flow, and I was really just super impressed by it. And then to go back and look at how you're the course of where you've been and what you've done, and even getting in with Accept. Now I think it was like 2000, was it 2019 that you
hmm
were, and who did you replace? Peter
Peter
Baltes or
Baltis, yeah, the original, the bass player for 40 something years. So I had
wow.
some big shoes to fill.
Right. So there's only one
And
person left that's original, which is Wolf Hoffman, right?
Wolf Hoffman.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but at this point, Mark Tornillo, the singer, he's kind the except basically took a hiatus in 2000. I think they tried one more reunion tour with Udo in 2005. But that was just a short stint, and then that didn't lead to anything else. And so they basically took a 9 year break, or almost 10 years, and then in 2009 they started to get back together, um, and that's when they found Mark Tornillo, who was in a band called TT Quick, but he had a perfect uh, the perfect voice that would fit the band. And from like I mean, I wasn't there. I can also only just go by the stories that I've heard and read. But so they jammed together, and there was instant chemistry, and he sounded amazing. And so they decided, hey, let's give this another go. And now we just finished our sixth studio album with Mark, and he sounds just as strong as he did at day one. And um, I love it.
Yeah, I think that's great because I know that like I said, I was listening to just to get a refresher because there were some songs I didn't know. I think some of them were newer. I couldn't tell. I knew there was
Mm.
like Pandemic was a song. Now, was
hmm
that from a long time ago or was that written during, because that one I didn't
That
remember.
was with Mark already. That's the new generation, the new era.
Okay.
I don't.
So it fit perfectly
This,
then.
my fans are just, or our fans are just gonna kill me right now. But I'm still not. I still not have not memorized exactly which song is on which album. It's really bad. I should, but it's. I mean, they got 16 albums. It's
Right.
coming going on 17 now, and just so many songs. And I'm still trying to learn the material and have the songs down. So I think it was on Blood of the Nations. But
You had to
don't
look.
kill me.
No, no, no.
I'm talking
It's
to our
really impressive.
fans.
Yeah, okay, there you go. That's fine. No, what I was going to say is that where was it that you had like 10 days to learn a whole bunch of stuff? Like, was that with this band?
It's
I
actually
think.
both times. It was with Uli. It was kind of like the similar thing because they had another bass player, and he backed out, and that's why that all happened so fast. And then, but then with Accept it was the same situation. They had another bass player to fill in,
Uh-huh.
and then um, that fell apart. And then so they asked me, would you be able to jump in and learn the stuff? And so it was, yeah, basically ten
No
days and
pressure.
nothing,
No pressure.
right? And that was the tour that we did with a whole symphonic orchestra, and half the material was Accept stuff, but half the material was like the songs from Wolf's studio as solo albums, which is basically um, classical pieces, but with rock band arrangement, but with a real orchestra. And so when you play classical music, it's different that you don't have. I mean, modern rock, pop, metal songs, they have a certain structure. You have an intro, you have a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then you have a bridge, and then you have a solo, and then that's when it sometimes gets confusing. But usually, like there's a certain order of how a song is structured. In classical music, it's completely different. It's like it's like one long melody, and if you chart it out, it's like sometimes it's on 10, 12 pages of sheet music. And but of course it's still a rock concert, so you cannot like sit there. You don't have a music stand on stage or something, so you still have to perform and know the song by heart. So when they asked me if I can do it, and I was crazy enough to say yes, that's all I did. So this is all I saw for a solid 10 days, just from morning to evening. Just I didn't even make charts because I was like, what's the point of making charts? I'm not going to be able to use them anyway. So just listen to them, listen, play along, repeat, repeat, repeat until you have it down.
I trained with in fact, we're still friends to this day, years ago, with a classically trained teacher. He was teaching me piano and fundamentals and harmony and the whole 9 yards. So what happened with that, so I can understand, and it basically, sometimes they always say that's the root of rock and roll, as far as a lot of, and there has, I mean, you guys, well, you're from Germany, so, there's a lot of history right there. So that probably had a really good a profound effect on the way you play and the way you think, and made you versatile. So, because I know you've even dabbled in jazz and a bunch of other things, like you said, you're doing mainstream 80s and 90s and things like that. I guess what's funny, you said music stand, and I have my own set of music stands, and when I go downtown, and this isn't to make anybody feel bad or sound bad in downtown, but I see a lot of the younger kids down there. They're using their iPhones and iPads to remember the words or the notes or whatever to these basic songs. And when you're touring with a live band like Accept, I know that you never see any of that out there.
Yeah, you can't do that. But
No,
I have to I have to protect or like defend the people on Broadway and the live musicians, because it's not that they cannot memorize the songs, but it's so many, and also there's a lot of requests. People just walk up, they just expect you to be a human jukebox and know everything. And also, I mean, that's also the thing of Nashville, is that a lot of the money that you make are tips. The bars don't really pay hardly anything, which is another thing that I kind of have a gripe with, because they make so much money, but then the bands basically are like, no, you have to see how you make how you're going to be able to make your money. So but that's a different subject. I don't want to go there right now, but that's how a lot of bands make sure that they get a lot of tips, is to have people request songs, and it's like usually it's like a $20 courtesy fee, so to speak, to request a song. But if it's a song but you don't know it by heart, then you go through your iPad and just pull up the chart really quick, and then so at least you can glance down and say, oh yeah, there was this and that and this, and that way that they're able to have, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 800,000 songs sometimes at their disposal. It'd be a bit much to expect them to know them without any help. If you have time to rehearse and okay, this is your set, then yeah, learn your songs. I agree.
Sure. Do you ever feel like, well, I mean, this is just a really quick question. Like when you're on stage in front of, like, I mean, I looked at some of the pictures and the videos of your concerts with Accept, and I know it's a different audience in downtown Nashville, because I think you have like a couple different variances. I think in downtown you either have a real hardcore places that allow you to play originals or freestyle it a little bit, and then there's of course downtown Broadway, which has the covers,
right.
70s, 80s, 90s, Freebird, Bohemian Rhapsody, whatever. And, that audience is going to be a lot more forgiving if you break a string or you forget a note or you hit the wrong pitch or something. Where in a live concert, do you feel that complete shift where you have to be, like you said, you might forget that particular bridge or chorus or whatever, but you're up there and thousands of people, because it looks like you guys have a massive audience. Because some bands, they still exist, they still tour, but they may have like 200 people in the audience, where I've seen you guys have several thousand people. And well, I'm going to ask a second question, but I'll kind of prep it with, do you guys have the same reception in the United States as you do in other parts of the country? Because I know you're going to Germany and all these other places around the world. Is the fan base different? But I'll start with Nashville versus being in the rock band Accept.
Right. So with Accept, the reception is definitely bigger in Europe and also in South America. But South America there's just not as many opportunities. But the venues we play in Europe are definitely bigger than what we play in the United States. That could also have to do with the fact that we just hadn't toured. Last October, we did the first tour in the band's history in 10 years, tour in the United States. So that's definitely, we should do that more often. That's my opinion. And it's definitely a bigger audience. I think also historically, because that's where the band is from. Sure. And so that's just, and especially when you make it in another country, then you get more recognition in your home country too. I think that's just how things work. And when I always try to do my best, but it's a different kind of pressure being on stage with Accept. Mm-hmm. I mean, you do want to do your best anyway. So you put yourself on a like you're very focused. And then also we play with in-ears, so whatever we hear, it almost sounds like you're in a studio. So you hear everything super precise, which also means you hear every wrong note super precise. And Wolf, of course, he's known the songs for like some of the songs for over 40 years. He cannot help but notice if there's something wrong. And sure. and so when there's something, if you really slip, then sometimes you get a glance on stage, and it's like I try to. It's not as bad as Stevie Wonder that makes you pay $5 for every wrong note.
Really?
Not Stevie Wonder. God,
never heard that one before.
No, it wasn't Stevie Wonder.
Can't be Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's gone.
James Brown.
Oh well,
James Brown. Yeah, he was like that, and that was tough too, because he was also very spontaneous, and he would just give cues, but if you messed up, you'd still have to pay. But it's just, Accept is really like a well-oiled machine, and you don't want to be the sand in the gears, and so this is why I try to be as precise as possible. I would say for my own good, and then also we record basically every show every night on audio multi-track, so I know you can go in and listen back and make sure that or like double check if there was something wrong or something, and so it is a different pressure. When I play Broadway and I see it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, everybody's drunk. Yeah, I get a little bit more relaxed too.
Sure.
It's just something that happens, but I still don't try to sound bad. I still try to put on a good performance and give people a good time, because that's why they come.
Let me show a clip if it plays right. Okay, so forgive me out there if it's you live in Paris this past year, right?
That's this year, past January.
Right, this year. Yeah. So here, I'm going to play a little clip. Let's see if I can. I've actually never done a live clip before, so let me try this.
Oh, do it.
Give me 1 second here. Oop. Let's add. I'm trying to add it here.
Want to bring blindly with no end in sight. Mass communication, hand to hand. A new epidemic has control of this land. They're coming at you one by one. We've got to kill them all. They're coming at us one by one.
right. There
Hell
you go.
yeah.
See how that? Yeah, there you go. It was that was you live, right, in Paris?
Yep, that's the opening song of the album, and also that we used it for this basically since with the album was released, the opening song of every show, the Zombie Apocalypse. And the song is actually because people go by the titles, oh, about zombies. No, it's about people who keep being stuck on their cell phones all day.
Oh wow,
They're
that you know
walking,
what
they're
that
walking
is.
around like
That,
like zombies, and they're like always looking for powers because their phones are always dead, and people just walk around like zombies, yeah, not even being aware of the world around them.
that's the
That's
young
what that song's
generation for
about.
you, I guess.
Yeah.
I know. I even try not to like. I put it down there like as much as I can because you're right. I think that's true. I was listening to it actually when I was doing stuff today, and it kind of like, wow, that's pretty cool. And like I said, there's so many little nuances from the older catalog that they have and the new stuff.
Hmm.
So it kind of stays in line with its reputation. But I think you're right. It needs to bring some new stuff. I was watching you play, and I was going to ask a couple questions. Like, do you? I know the box isn't very high that you're standing on, but it doesn't give you much room to go back or forth and stuff. Do you ever feel like you're ever going to fall off that thing a little bit because it's all the lights and
No, no, for falling off is not a problem. It's pretty big when you stand on there, but I get that question a few times. Why don't you come up to the front of the stage? And but it's like now we're six people, so we added Philip Schaus, not an
uh,
amazing guitar player, also here in Nashville, who was in Ace Frehley's band and Gene Simmons' band, and now we have like three guitar players like Iron Maiden, and it's just such a wall of sound. And if you had five people run around like crazy, it'd be just chaos. And that's
sure.
why we decided to okay, let's have like a 3-and-3
Uh,
formation. And but there are some songs where I come to the front, like the beginning of Shadow Soldier. It's usually
mhm.
that starts with like just the bass kind of like pedaling along. I go to the front there. Um, Breaker, when we play that, like towards the end, we all like all four of us are standing in front, playing that unison part, and then usually we have like a little surprise song at the very end, and that's where we'll all just let loose and just run around and just have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like you really have. I know a lot of people when they come to Nashville, like they went to LA and New York because I've been here all my life.
Hmm.
I'm from Motown, so I've seen
Right,
Bob Seger, Kid Rock, Eminem,
right.
several Motown people. Never met Stevie Wonder, but I have met many Motown artists, and I've even DJ'd with them. The
Oh,
Vandellas was my
cool.
last about 5 years ago. But
Hmm.
when
Have you
I
been to
think of
Vegas?
no, in Detroit, actually
No,
in Detroit.
no,
And
no.
I,
Have
and
you
I
been to
love
Vegas?
Vegas
That's what I'm asking.
because you were in Vegas. When were you in
Right.
Vegas? You were there for a while, weren't you?
I was there for like 6 years.
Yeah, and I love Vegas. Where did you? Now I don't remember exactly where you played in Vegas, but
Also, it's
um,
kind of like the same thing what I'm doing here when I'm not on the road, like doing the casino. That I mean, that different venues, but kind of like this casino stuff and
you've even done
the
cruise
lounges
ships,
stuff
right?
afterwards. Yeah, but I interrupted you. You were in
Oh no, no,
Dallas.
no, no! I said that we were gonna. I even said that before we started. I said we're probably gonna, it's gonna be like a conversation. But
Right, right.
but
That's
you
why I
were
don't
the,
want to be rude. I don't want to
yeah,
interrupt and like.
kidding me? I don't want to
Uh,
be rude back.
and,
So
and enough about me. What do you think about me? Yeah.
I love that one. That's a great line. Um, well, I think very highly of you, actually. No, but here's what I was going to ask you because you've taken, some people might think that there's easy steps, or like now that you've reached somewhat the pinnacle big time with being in it with Accept, and you could probably now that you played with all these people that played with Kiss and Primal Fear and all the the list goes on and on, even Michael Jackson.
Hmm.
That and you've done your own album, Dream Chaser. Because the one thing I did gather is that Dream Chaser was a mantra for you, meaning like you came from Germany, you came to the United States with a dream. You were educated, which is, you got that out of the way, so to speak, because, they always try to, and not everybody goes that route, but you
Right, right,
came
right.
here and you chased your dream and you made a lot of things possible. You made a lot of things happen. And that really intrigued me, and I thought that would be a really high light of inspiration to anybody out there watching as an artist, musician, what have you, especially if they were going to come down to Nashville. Because like I said, you could be pretty much anywhere, but you come here. And then as soon as you get off the road, you go to I've read that I can say I read this, and I really thought that was another cool thing. Like, I know that, and I've known this from before, that there's certain musicians that love to be studio musicians. I've been described that here in Nashville 2 years ago by some really heavyweight. And they said there's songwriters that are very talented, can sing, play piano, guitar, whatever, but they don't want to go on tour. They don't want to be away from their family and do all that road work. And then there's people that love going on tour and all that. But you love to be, when you're off the road, you're playing downtown. You're in your studio, you're writing, you're like a jack of all trades, but your work ethic is just amazing. And your ambition to keep playing and performing, is like, I guess the next question I would probably ask you, and anybody who might be curious if I don't, would be like, from this moment moving forward, I'm sure you've got projects in your wheelhouse, but there's certain things that, like, what do you see yourself doing 5-10 years from now? Because like, you're probably one of the younger members of Accept. Are you looking to continue that legacy? And I don't want to put you on the spot with that one. But also, where do you see yourself transcending? Because you are a very amicable, you're very approachable, you're very congenial. I mean, that's a start. That's a huge win. You're very talented. I mean, you're very, you look.
Keep coming.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I don't want to, because I mean,
No, you're making me blush.
No, but I mean, obviously you're a very attractive guy. You dress well, you look good, on stage and in person. So that's a lot of nice features right there for most musicians down here. Because I've seen some where I'm almost like, whoa, why not? And not that it matters, but it's like it
kind of
doesn't
matters
hurt.
a little bit. I think. I mean, the genetics are what they are, and I mean, I know that I've been lucky in some regards, but it's also how you take care of yourself, and it's easy to just indulge in like drugs and just drink and eat bad food and not work out, and so that's a certain way of living. That's like the nature versus nurture thing. So what do you get, and what do you do with it? And that's why what the saying comes from: hard work always beats talent. If somebody's just talented, then but he doesn't do anything with it, and somebody who puts in the work, even if it's not even remotely as talented, always going to beat him. And so that's why I try to like do the best with the tools I've been given. But it's true that I do love to do both, and traveling has just always been such a big thing for me. But also, I always wanted to be a musician. I had this urge in me to make music. I just didn't want to go that corporate route, and but I do want to travel. And I knew that, like, okay, just with the money that you make as a musician, you won't be able to make like take the trips I would love to make or to take. And so that's why I'm so happy that I can do this, and this entails the traveling part. And that's why when you mentioned earlier, yeah, when the offer came to do a cruise ship, it was kind of like necessary that I had to take that gig at that time when it came around. But it was also an offer. It was one of those things that said, "I'll make him an offer I cannot refuse." So it was like, go for 6 months out of Sydney, Australia, and cruise to South Pacific, like Tahiti, Bora Bora, Fiji, and I'm like, I'll never see these places, and I'm never going to spend the money to go there. And so that's, even if I had the money, I'd probably spend it on something else, not a Ritter base or something. I only have 3, so I need more. And so I was able to do that. And now with Accept, we're traveling. Japan is still on top of my list to visit that I haven't been to yet. And we were supposed to go, and then that was canceled because of COVID. We had set dates. We were going to play 2 shows, 2 nights in a row. The first night we would have played the Balls to the Wall album in its entirety, and then the second night we would have played the Metal Heart album in its entirety. But then it got postponed because of COVID, and then eventually we're like, nah, it's not gonna happen. So I'm like, damn it. And Wolf keeps telling me, chill out, man. Well, you'll get there. You get there. Sometimes I'm not a very patient guy.
Yeah, patience is a virtue. I know that.
No, it is.
Yeah, I I came here with different expectations, and things changed. Even doing this, because
right.
I love the stories, and some people don't have good stories, or they're so short they could be completed in 2 sentences. But I saw your story, but I knew you, and I knew on all that, and I said, oh my God, this is you know just the things you could talk about, and I knew that, I like you're not, I think you're still in your prime of what you're trying to do, all your different accomplishments in studio with Accept. And I think because you've already had, I mean, just you being able to put together a collaboration of different artists, again, like Joe Satriani and everybody.
Yeah, it blew my mind too. When I gotta be honest.
What's that?
They blew my mind when they were like,
Good way to put it.
sure, we'll do it. So
Just like that, huh?
I guess.
Just like, see, now how does that, okay, let me word this carefully.
I know I completely dodged your question that you asked earlier about like how is Accept gonna go on and that kind of stuff, but we'll get there. We'll get back to that.
Okay, so let me divert for a minute and do a little deep dive. I mean, as far as how does a Martin Motnik get somebody like all these guys, and girls, of course, or what's Jennifer, you had Derek, you had all these different people. And
I wanted more ladies. I'm a big fan of lady musicians. I had reached out to Nita Strauss, who plays with Alice Cooper now. Larry Basilio, who's amazing Brazilian solo musician too. She's her Instagram channel is just blows me away. The stuff that she plays, really melodic. So how does this come about? You just reach out to people, and they're either available or not. And like those two ladies, for instance, they were both too busy with their own projects. Like, I mean, that's why so much music came out after COVID, because that was the best way for musicians and the natural way for musicians to cope with the situation. That you're just stuck at home and you're like, okay, I could go crazy, or I could just become an alcoholic, or I use music as my outlet, which is what got us into it in the first place.
Sure.
Basically making music. And so the way I approached the project was, you have to think strategically, because not everybody knows you, obviously. And so you kind of have to convince people sometimes with the people who are already participating or partaking on your project. And so Greg luckily has a fantastic reputation in the industry as being such a fantastic musician and a likable guy, but also having high standards. Greg Bissonette would not play for everybody. He does check out what you ask him to play on, and if he feels like it's below his standard, I know he will find a way to let you down easy. But I had never heard him on a track that I mean, wherever he plays on, he elevates it into a different universe. But I don't think he would agree to play on something that he's not he couldn't stand behind, or sit behind, because he's a drummer. Get him? Sorry. So so he was very instrumental to get it started. And then I asked him to play on 3 songs, and then we were in one song. We're in the middle of a session for one song. He did his parts in Los Angeles at the studio that he records at, but we were connected through Zoom. So I was actually able to sit in here and watch live what he was recording, and we could talk, interact, and we could discuss and give feedback afterwards. And so we were talking, and I was saying, so this song that I'm playing on, it's a song called Shuttle Home. It's like very spacey, and and he played on it, and it was like sounded amazing. And I was like, so on this song, I would love to have Andy Timmons play a solo, because it's just I don't know if everybody knows who he is. Since you lived in Dallas, that's where he lives.
Right.
That's from that. He was in a band called Danger Danger, like in the metal, in the 80s, like a famous hair metal band. Then he was actually the music director for Olivia Newton-John for a long time. And
Wow.
your face is funny. Yeah, so she rocked. So, rest in peace. That was a big loss.
Oh, man.
Um,
I still think
and
about it.
right, it's sad. But I've mostly known him as the amazing solo musician, solo guitarist, and his solo stuff is just
Mhm.
his playing is just so, his technique is out of this world, but his playing is, there's shredders and there's like super fast technical players, but then there's musicians that can take the skill and just paint the most beautiful picture with it, so that you
Sure.
totally forget how good they actually are, because you're so immersed in the sounds that they create. And he's one of them. And that's why I was like, so, and it was like a complete spur of the moment. I was like, yeah, this is a song I would love to have like Andy Timmons on it. That would be great. And so Greg looks into the camera and he's like, you know that Greg that Andy and I have a band together. And I'm like, no, I did not. And he goes, yeah, I do, with my brother Matt Bissinen, fantastic bass player. He played with Joe Satriani, he played with David Lee Roth. Now lately he was playing with Elton John. He's in Elton John's band.
Wow.
And so it's like, yeah, we have this band, the Redcoats, and this is a great idea. Let me send him a text. And he pulls out his phone and he starts texting Andy Timms on the fly. And then a second later, I get a text message, a phone number that I didn't know, and Greg's like, Andy, please meet Martin. You guys take it from here. He wants you to play on his album. Beautiful song. I'm like, amazing, man. And that's how that came about. And so that's how I had Andy Timmons, just referral, just a suggestion, recommendation. And then I had met Jennifer Batten at the NAMM show. That's that music convention that happens every year in Anaheim, California.
Mhm.
I had met
Well,
her through another friend of mine, guitar player, Ralph Jung from Germany. They had worked together for a music equipment company. And so I met her, and we had a short conversation. And that was kind of like I was always looking for like points where I could like latch on to like something where, okay, we had a conversation before. I'm not a complete stranger.
mhm.
And just I was just hoping that they wouldn't reckon or remember me as like, oh yeah, that was that weird guy or something like that.
Right. Wow.
And so I was able to reach out to her. And most of the conversation was in fact like over via email. And so I give them a short introduction. It's Martin, I'm now the bass player in Accept. I definitely use that. And then I said, we had spoken at NAMM. You won't remember, but here's what I'm working on. It's my second follow-up. Greg's on it. At that time, I had also already Walfredo Reyes Jr., the drummer for the band Chicago, but he was also drummer for Carlos Santana and Christina Aguilera. It's another just tremendous list of credits. And Wally is his nickname. He and I had jammed together in Germany years ago, and that's how I was able to get him to participate. And so you start collecting names, and the more names you have, and the more names they're like, okay, he's taking part, he's playing on it. They're starting to trust you. And they're like, this is probably not gonna be crap or complete crap. And that's how you start. And then of course, then you reach out to some people, and they say, I'm busy, or you don't even get a reply, and I'm like, okay, you're too good for this. Okay, I'm not gonna mention any names. And so, but that just comes with the territory. But I literally only reached out to people that were like big heroes of mine, people that I admired. That there was a reason why I had some sort of a connecting point with them in the past, is because I had seen them live, or I had gone somewhere where they were, and I had either like a conversation or something. I hadn't met Andy Timmons before. Actually, funny story. It was at the NAMM show, at the convention. They have these jam sessions or concerts in the evenings, and so that was around the time when I was touring with Uli John Roth, and so we went backstage after a show, and Andy Timmons had played the show with Simon Phillips on drums, another incredible musician, played with Toto and also fantastic studio musician. And after the show, we end up in the dressing room, and I end up standing between. It just happened to be I was standing between Andy and Uli John Roth, and I just more as a joke, I started introducing them to each other. So, Uli, this is Andy. Andy, this is Uli, and they started shaking hands. Oh, good to meet you. And I'm like, it's just hilarious. And so that was kind of like that was that little. I was just being funny, and then ended up, yeah, I actually introduced him. That's hilarious. And so that was kind of like a little connecting point there. Frank Gambale, the monster fusion guitar player, was in Chick Corea's band. I had gone to see him at a small jazz club in Los Angeles after I had just moved there, in like the realm of my networking phase. And I just went there and watched him. And it was that's the thing in LA. You go into these little bars and they're playing in a corner on a corner stage. I mean, it's still announced like, okay, you know who they are, and people go to watch them, but it's like 30, 40 people there. They're having dinner, and you're like, those are people that play arenas. And here in LA, you just walk in. I mean, it's the same in Nashville. You go into these bars, and you go down Broadway, and you walk in, and there's a bass player on stage who's usually playing with, let's say, Jason Aldean or Carrie Underwood, or they used to playing 15, 20,000 seaters. And but then they're there, and they're just, once you're done playing, they just hang out, and you approach them and say, hey, can I buy you a beer? And then you have a conversation, and you take your selfie, and then just be cool, and then go your way. And then, but then later you have that photo, and then you can send it to them via email and say, hey, we met a while ago. I'm doing this and this and this. Here's who I'm working with already. I would love to have you on it. Would you be cool? And the thing is, you do pay them. It's not like they just. It's still it's our job.
Of course, absolutely, absolutely.
So, and that and this is why when I started doing that, I actually started a crowdfunding campaign, and so that's another thing that I would not have been able to do this without the generous support of so many people that helped me crowdfund the album, basically, because I had a campaign out, and I have some fantastic people that helped me basically make it happen, and I cannot thank them enough. It's just I was just so grateful. And those are basically the steps that you do. You just basically have to make a plan. And what do you want to accomplish? And then you have to think strategically. How can you make it happen? And
I hope people are taking notes, because that's part of the formula. I think sometimes people have this illusion that things fall into people's lap, so they just get super, super lucky. And it, like you said, we were talking about this a couple of days ago, you and I. It's work ethic. It's work ethic. It just is. You got to pay your dues. You got to make sacrifices. Does it guarantee success? I doubt it, but it's closer to success than failure. Failure is doing nothing. Failure is not working hard at what you need to do. And you, like you said, you've done a lot. I guess one question I want to ask, because I mean, I can talk about your personal life and see where that's going and things like that. And I'm gonna, I'll divert again, because those are the go-tos, to make it easier. But unless of course you wanted to. But I guess here's something that might be different, because I like the positive flow that you've had. But have there been any like little tiny mishaps or
all the time?
Yeah, of course, that stand out, or like, how you've reached out to certain people. Is there somebody that just made you feel like, maybe downtown Nashville or anywhere, that, like, hey, I just played with this person and I play this. Is there, or maybe even before, like, that just kind of really dusted you off? You don't have to say the name or anything, but I mean, has there been those situations where, like, you thought it was going to happen and it didn't happen, or the person didn't treat you as kind as you thought, or vice versa? Because you have mentioned a
Oh,
lot of great people.
yeah. I mean, there's been moments where yeah, the way you get a reality check. It was just something that recently actually happened. I was gonna play with somebody, and then we were on tour in Latin America, and I actually had my cell phone stolen. I had it snatched out of my hand. It was my own fault, but I was like, I had to go look for laundry or to get my laundry done, and I had figured out exactly where I have to go, but I went where it was, and it wasn't there. So I was like standing there, like confused and dumbfounded, and I thought I was in a safe area, and it could happen anywhere. It could have happened
Mhm.
in the United States, in the city in the United States. But so I was like standing there and just like looking at Google Maps, trying to find, and all of a sudden I hear like an engine rev up, and it was like it's happened in a split second, and it ran into me, and just my phone flew out of my hand, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?" And then
Right.
I was waiting for the impact for the phone to fly somewhere, and
Sure.
and it didn't land. And there was a guy on a dirt bike, and he was just riding off and riding away. I'm like,
You got phone jacked?
mother, mother effer, snatched it right out of my hand with his left hand. So it was remarkable. It was like I actually applauded him. It was like,
Like a ninja move.
right, I was he practiced that. But of course, my phone was unlocked, and it was like panic, and so I ran back to the hotel. Of course, the first person I run into in the lobby is Wolf. It was like, you okay? I'm like, can't talk, phone stolen, need to change all passwords. And so I run up to my hotel room and just kind of go into damage control, and nothing actually happens. I wasn't really able to change. They just wanted the phone, and it's understandable because it's like it's a lot of money, and if you just flash it around like that, you're just asking for it. And so basically the second half of the tour I didn't have a cell phone, so the
That
guy
had
that
to
I was
be
supposed to,
mind-boggling. Nobody under
yeah,
40 would survive 24 hours that I know. Nobody,
right, it's just insane.
to get it,
But
or the Wi-Fi or something. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
but so
Um,
I was still able to communicate, but that's the pretense to that story, to that question, to the question you asked. um so I was gonna go afterwards. I was gonna play when I was gonna be back in Nashville. I was gonna play with um, a fairly known singer who I was talking to before for his solo shows,
mhm.
and so I come back to Nashville, and I get an angry email like, "You're the most unprofessional person I've ever met. You're never gonna make it in the industry." And I'm like, "Excuse me, what happened?" And I was like, "I told you I'm going on the road. Um, I told you I was going to check in when I'm back. What happened?" He's like, "I was sending you text messages. You were not getting back to me. I already found somebody else. So good luck." And I was like, "Okay, just letting you know. I just came back from Latin America. I had my phone stolen. I didn't have my phone for over a week. Sorry." And then it was like, "Ah, yeah, that might explain it. Okay, but I already found somebody." I'm like, "Good luck." So that's just those little things that happen, and then those are the moments where I just tell myself, you know what, it's better that way. It happened for a reason.
Sure.
It probably would not have been a good match anyway. That's the thing, and that's what I try to see with every situation. Because there's been gigs that I didn't get, and then later it turns out it was actually a blessing in disguise that it didn't work out. Or when I first moved to LA, and then I had my artist visa, and I was like, well, I'm in town now and I can really work and go on tour. And I had like 3 tours lined up. There's like 3 artists that told me we're going to go on tour next year, and it was 2009. And then the financial crash happened and the housing bubble burst, and
Mhm.
all the tours got canceled. And then you're like, okay, back to the drawing board. What I'm gonna do now? And that's why I moved from LA to Vegas, because living was cheaper. It was more work in Vegas, and it kind of broke my heart because I still love Southern California, and that was always my dream destination. But you just adapt, you know. You go like, okay, this is not working out right now, and something else is gonna happen. And now I'm here and I'm in Accept and I'm doing this and I'm like, and I'm talking to you, and I'm like, you know what? Everything that happened in my life was a step to get to where I am right now. And that's how I try to cope with it.
Wow. Well, I didn't even ask questions. I know that we set a time limit coming up soon. So I guess if anybody has any questions out there or comments, or feel free to do so, and even post. Meaning, if you see this later tonight, tomorrow, whenever, it's going to be up there, all on YouTube, all on. We're going to throw an Instagram link out there, and also, of course, on Facebook. And of course, again, you can share it, Martin.
I will, absolutely. And I also go, I'm very active on social media, and if there's any questions, I'm also usually happy to.
Yeah, you are that guy. That's why this was a home run, because there wasn't anything I was going to have to like walk on the eggshells or kind of maneuver around or forget to ask or something. It's like, okay, and you were gracious enough to tell me, hey, you know what, we're gonna. I was thinking, okay, we'll do this for like an hour, maybe, a half hour, hopefully, and then you said, no, can we do it till 7? Well, our time, and which is coming up soon. So also, be outlandish with promote, self promote as much as you can. If you look underneath, we put a thing underneath that says, Motnik.com. That's one way of getting a hold of him. And of course, there's your music available on there, right?
Right.
And hopefully merchandise and things like that, right? So you guys can, if you're a fan of Martin, Accept, Dream Chaser, all that, feel free. Real quickly while I'm doing that.
Let me just dig here in my case. So yeah, I do everything myself basically, and so when people buy my stuff, where is it here? Then there
you go.
There we go. I do sign them and I make it out to people and I personalize it, and I usually throw some guitar picks in there, and so I try to yeah.
Wow,
because I'm very grateful for people to support me, and I mean, who needs a bass solo album? But I mean, it's I'm really grateful for all the support of that I get.
What's your favorite song to play?
That's an interesting question.
Except for not Accept. It doesn't be anything. Could be a cover. Could be something you did.
There's so many.
I'm just doing speed.
Right. Say again.
I'm just doing a speed round of questions. Quick answers. Just things
okay. I think when I think Accept right now, live is Shadow Soldier is definitely a highlight of mine that I like playing.
Wow, that's good. And what's your favorite? I mean, is there a particular like model bass that you love to play the most? I'm sure you've got a particular.
Well, my baby and my main workhorse is this Ritter bass that I've had since 2004. It's also, I don't know if you can see it, but
I can see
it's
it.
got my name.
Yeah.
It's got my name here, and usually it lights up. But right now, let me see if I swap batteries, maybe I can make it work. Because
that wasn't the one I saw you with. I saw you with the Dreamcatcher bass, I think, right?
Right. That's another one that I see. It actually lights up in blue. I don't know if you can see it. I broke it. Yeah, there it is. And then it's got the blue lights on the side.
Blue light.
So this is kind of like my main workhorse, and it's what I mostly use on. And it's mostly because it's a really good friend of mine, Jens Ritter, and he's a monster luthier from Germany, but we're from the same area, so I feel very honored that he actually took me in as one of his musicians when he did, because he was already building instruments for like big name artists. He was exhibiting in Frankfurt at the Musikmesse, which is like the German trade, or used to be. It's kind of like ending now. But and now in the meantime, he's built instruments for Prince. He's built, I mean, which is kind of like obvious because when you look at
You know, it
the
looks
shape
like a
of it,
Prince guitar.
yeah.
You know, he had a white
So he
one like
had
that.
he had one. Lady Gaga has one that's like all covered in a guitar, a
Wow.
treble guitar, all covered with Swarovski's crystals. Sammy Hagar has one of his basses, and but now he's building them mostly as art pieces. He just had an exhibition in California at the museum, and his instruments are none of them are below 5 digits, and some of them go up to 6 digits. I'm literally talking $100,000 for certain instruments.
Wow.
Like they have the diamonds in them, and it's like it's nuts. And so, but he's a really dear friend of mine, and so I love to play his instruments. When I'm a little different than most musicians that have what they call like an endorsement deal or some sort of endorsement agreement, because the bass that I play with Accept, like when I joined Accept, it has a very specific look. You have the flying V guitars, of course, and Peter was known for playing the Fender Precision bass body style P bass, what they call it, and Wolf definitely wanted to maintain that style. It was one of the questions he asked me because he saw my videos. Okay, I know you can play, but 2 questions: can you play with a pick, and second, can you have your bass hang down a little lower? Because I usually have it really high, because it's like technical playing is a little easier when you do it up here. That's, for instance, why John Petrucci puts his foot on like a stand when he plays like really super fast solos to get his guitar higher, so it's easier to play. So it actually helps him, but it just looks cooler when your instrument is lower, and so that's what Wolf asked me to adapt my playing style, so to speak. And it was like, whatever you want. I mean, my job is to make the artist happy, and also to fit into the style and of the band. And he plays this Flying V model. He's got a signature model by a company called Framus Guitars, and there's Framus guitars, and the bass let's say the bass department called Warwick, but they're the same company that in Southeast Germany, and Hans-Peter Wilfer is the guy who makes them. He's a good friend of Wolf's, so he's been building his guitars for a long time. And but Hans-Peter also now started building the instruments for Roger Sadowski. Not all of them, but a certain. So Roger Sadowski is a bass luthier from New York City, who builds fantastic basses, and they're mostly, let's say, improved copies of the classic Fender Jazz bass and Fender Precision basses. And so it was just such a lucky coincidence that Warwick Framus started building Sadowski, and so basically they asked me, do you want to play our basses? And so with Accept, I have the Sadowski bass now that I play when I'm on stage with them. So that's this one here, and this one's gonna get some modifications really soon, because they're gonna switch out the pickups to Fishman pickups, but it's got I have a good friend of mine. He makes those pick arts, and he etches the name into it, and then I kind of like decorate the headstock too. And so this is my baby for Accept. And usually, as I said, you stick with one company and you only play that company. And in my situation, it's a little bit different. They both understand that this is almost like playing 2 different kinds of instruments, not just 2 different brands, but they basically, it's almost like a convertible and a pickup truck. One is they both have their own distinct purpose, and you could, but it'd be difficult to use the one thing for the other and vice versa. And so that's why. So when you ask me, sorry for the long answer, but it's I kind of try to stay on the safe side, because it's such a sometimes it's politically a little bit difficult to explain that. So why is he playing two different companies? Because it's kind of like playing two different kinds of instruments. So that's why I play Sadowski and I play Ritter.
I think that's great. I think I didn't know it was going to be that proprietary unless you were making So that's a good. You just threw out so much really useful information. Whether you're a fan, whether you're a musician, whether you're trying, you're coming from another part of the world with a dream and chasing it. I think that we've hit. I mean, you're just one of those guys that I could talk endlessly for, to or whatever. And I think that I could just listen to a lot that you project with. And I hope that people that see this, not just tonight on the other forums and platforms, when they see that, it's really a testament to the things you've done, things you're doing, and who you are. And as we wind it, down, and like I said, you can say as much as you want. I'm just listening, but I guess I would be really remiss if I didn't ask you something that may be typical. I don't know, but like if you were to give somebody advice as a musician or somebody starting off, because the great American story is an immigrant coming here, and with a dream and trying to pursue it, working hard and coming through all the different processes. What would your legacy be, or what advice would you give if either one of those, just like your two different the two different questions, so to speak, but like, how would you want to be remembered, from this moment on, for all the things that you've done? Because I know you've got a long way to go before you're done with your projects and your goals.
I still have a few, I still have a few irons in the fire for sure. But that's a good question. All the things that I could say are things that I heard from other people. And so it's like when you say like luck is when opportunity meets preparation. That's kind of like the one thing. And like I always say, when how did you end up in Accept? I'm like, it was like right place, right time. I had just moved to Nashville and it just opened up. And I just happened to be, if I had just come to Nashville 3 months later than I did, then someone else would be playing there now. So the timing was just, so I would say, yeah, that was definitely luck, but I was also prepared. So it's one of those things. But I'm also of the opinion that if that hadn't happened, I would have made something else happen. Because that's just how it is. It's the mindset you kind of have to have. It's like you need to know that you can always land on your feet. And I mean, there are bad circumstances, and I mean, if you get sick, I mean, I'm always like, I'm really lucky that I'm of good health. I don't have any ailments to speak of. Got a little cold right now, but nothing that. And I mean, there are things that can really derail your plan, and but if that happens, well, you need to look for something else that you're good at, that you can excel at, and put your mind to that. I was just lucky that it basically almost pulled me towards doing this. I mean, sometimes I was like, why am I even doing this? Why am I even here? It's almost like something's like really pulling me down a certain path. But that might also be just, okay, this is just my talent that I was given. That was my mission in life to fulfill. And I wish more people would follow their passion, because I feel like many people have a talent, but then they do something else and basically go against their own grain, because I don't know, out of fear or social pressure or whatever, and it's just so predetermined. And I'm just so happy that, I mean, I'm lucky that things happened the way they did, but I'm also I sacrificed quite a bit, of course. That's just, I mean, I slept on air mattresses and had like little rented little one bedrooms in LA, but it's all part of the story. And this is the stuff that people don't want to hear while it's happening. Afterwards, it makes for a fun story. But stay positive, stay humble, work hard, but also what they say, smell the roses, enjoy the journey. I mean, I'm preaching to myself. I'm not I'm not
Practice what you preach,
completely.
right?
Yeah, right. I'm not free of guilt, and I'm like, God damn it, and I get angry and frustrated, and so but and sometimes I also don't really enjoy the fruits of my labor. You finish something, and it's almost like it's your duty to complete something, and then okay, album with Joe Satriani, Wolf Hoffman, Bruce Cooley, Frank Gambale, Christopher Williams, Joe Babiak, done. Next, instead of like revel in that for a little bit, and so
Sure.
enjoy your little successes and your milestones in life. But move forward, and I'm just saying that because I'm very extreme in the other way, that I'm like, okay, done, check, next, and
It's funny because, as we're almost done here, as we complete this dialogue, I
sure.
think it's kind of funny because I have to say this because when I came to Nashville for my own personal reasons, that and I really wasn't, and I met you and a handful of other really good people at one particular
Mm,
place that took me about 3 months. And of course, at Danny, and then I'm even with a great guy now. He's over there. He's just got off work. He's like you, a very hardworking guy, and he's listening because he's also a rock and roll and country fan.
cool.
He, I'm here at his compound right now, and it's because we all met at the same place. I met
Hmm.
him. I met you. We all met at the same place here in Nashville, Tennessee. You know what I mean? I'm from Detroit. He's from
Right.
Texas. You're from Germany. I mean, come on. You know what I mean?
It's
So
it's
it's
really like a
really,
melting pot, yeah. It
yeah, it
really
really
is.
is. I wasn't going to say that, and I really feel like I have to say it as we wind this down because um, I know that you said, you need to, wherever you're going. Where are you going after this anyway? Are you just going to hang out? Are you going to work? What are you doing tonight? I'm just curious.
I have some stuff that I'm working on here, so I have some
Okay.
some deadlines on some songs that I'm working on, because I'm also available to play on other people's music. That's my website on studiobassist.com. That's where people can hire me, and I play on their songs,
And I
and so
apologize for I'm looking at three different screens at the same time. So I'm looking at there's me. And then I'm looking at all this stuff that, you're doing. So yeah. So check his stuff out, studiobassist.com for, if you want Martin to come and play. Also, check out martinmotnik.com. He's also on Instagram, Facebook, everything else,
I'm the
TikTok.
only one with that name as far as I know, so I'm really easy to
I've
find.
never heard that name. In fact, yeah, I even tried to
Hmm.
Google it. So, right? Yeah. So if you are definitely in your own. If you have an eponymous album like you have, then you're
Yeah,
safe to say you're not going to have too many copycats out there. Hard
confusion. Yeah,
work, chance favors the prepared mind. That's Louis Pasteur, I believe, and I think that's kind of what you've been saying. You have to work hard for the luck to work, and I don't know. Any last words? Because I need to let you go. You said 7:30. It's 7:39 our time. And
well,
if you
it's
see this
always a
later,
little extra.
we knew. You know what? I knew that was going to happen. I could tell by the way we were
Right,
talking the other day.
right. It happens fast. But
um,
no, it's really really nice. I just want to thank you for having me on, giving me the opportunity, and I
likewise.
always say that, like, podcasts and YouTube channels, that's the new radio, that's the new TV, and then you guys share our music, you share our passion, and you get it out there and in front of people's eyes and ears, and I just want to thank you for doing what you're doing, because I mean it's the same passion that you put uh, into your project as everybody. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. I hope and I'm gonna do a little quick 10-second thing is, I like doing this, and if it helps anybody at any caliber, even a Martin Motnik level, to come out and tell your story, share your song, share your music, whatever you want to do, feel free to do this as we're building this down here in Nashville, because I think there's not enough of it. And it's to benefit you and your fan base and anybody else that you might want to work on a project with, or however. You've heard all the different ways that he's worked with people, and got people involved to help support and fund and all these things. So you were just a bevy. You were just a plethora of information today. And I hope that helps the listener out there with any goal, not just music, but anything out there. And we're using the technology of the internet to make sure that that happens in the best way possible. No glitches, no nothing. I think we sounded okay. And you know, and I can even see studiobassist.com right behind you. Man, it's nice and crystal clear. I love that. And you're such a handsome fellow. I swear. I won't even ask you how many groupies you have. You know,
none that I know of.
Okay. I'll keep it safe. All right. Well, stay on. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. We'll go off, and I want to just say goodbye to you right offline here real quick. I know he's getting ready to watch a movie over here on the side, and
well, it's Friday night, so
it's Friday night, man. Friday night at the movies. Usually it's Friday Night Lights. Isn't it usually Friday Night Lights somewhere? In Texas.
In Texas. Very good.
Everything's big in Texas. And my exes, right? All right. Yeah, right on. Okay, well, listen, brother. I love you. My new friend Martin Motnik from the band Accept, and available on all platforms for all projects. Come see him in Nashville. You playing Kid Rock next week?
Yes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
All right, I'm going to be there. We're going to hang out.
Come by.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is NashTalk live from Nashville, and we're actually about a half hour from each other, aren't we?
Like probably I said, everything's like half an hour here.
Yeah, but it's an easy kind of drive. There's back roads and highways. It's nice. I like it. All right, man. All right. So thank you very much. Thank you to Martin. Just check him out. If you guys see this, you can stop and record. So if you want to watch the whole thing. We've been on an hour and 42 minutes. And catch it in its entirety. You really get something out of it. Thank you, Martin, so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, you guys. Peace.